All right, here we go. 1 second, I'll introduce you. What is up, everybody? Welcome to Unbiased and On the Fence. I'm already chatting it up with Biker Babe. How are you doing, Sharon? If you don't mind me saying your real name, for those
That's fine.
people know you from
I'm doing
Facebook.
right, exactly. Most people know me from Facebook. Yeah, I'm doing good. I've been really, really busy, but finally I got an evening off where I can actually be on YouTube.
Oh, I'm so glad you're able to join us and give us an update. So, how have you been feeling lately? I've been feeling like little bursts of really feeling great, and then other times feeling tired. Have you been noticing anything like that?
Absolutely, it's been terrible. I mean, when you're tired, it's almost like you're dead tired, and then all of a sudden, like you said, you get this tremendous burst of energy. And I think I notice it more with my father, because I'll go there one day and he looks like he's 50 years old again, and then the next time I go there and he looks like he's 100 years old.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know what's with these waves of energy, but they've been really something else.
They are. They really are. And I just don't know how to take it. Sometimes I feel like in the middle of the day, it's like I get drugged or something. It's like, I just got to go lay down. And then half hour later, I wake up and I feel rejuvenated. So I don't know what the deal is.
Right, I know the feeling.
I feel bad for the people that like have to sit at an office desk or something, and they can't really. I guess they could go to the bathroom for take a little power nap or something, but that would really suck, to kind of be stuck somewhere and feel like I feel, because it doesn't last long, but it's still so heavy. I can't imagine having to concentrate on anything,
Right, I know the feeling. I get it at work, but I don't work a lot of day shifts. I work a lot of night shifts, so that helps a lot. And then I'm here by myself, and that makes for a long night. And it's very strange being in a place where you have all this big equipment and everything, and you're there for 12 hours all alone. It gets kind of creepy sometimes.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah, yeah. I'm trying to get this guy Kelly on. He works on cars at this shop, and he's caught some really strange stuff on footage, and I'm still waiting to hear back from him. It's been a while now since I heard from him, but he sent me some stuff that's like, man, that would creep me out to be there at night and then see something like this on footage, and then know that you didn't see it with your, naked eye or whatever, but it was there, and it's some pretty odd stuff. But I want to share his stuff when he gets on, because it's pretty cool stuff.
Oh, right on.
I did want to tell everybody real quick that you can text that number, because for some reason it works when I call it, but it doesn't. It like barely rings. So send me a text to that same number. It's in the description box below, and I will know that you want to talk, and I can just call you back, and I won't reveal your number or anything, so you don't have to worry about that. And that number, in case you don't see it in the description box, is 781-474-2632. Okay, back to Biker Babe.
So would you like to hear about my QHHT session?
Definitely.
Okay. That was really, really interesting, and my practitioner, the lady that did it for me, said that I could mention her name on here, and her name is Cynthia Davatella.
Awesome.
And yeah, she's amazing, absolutely amazing. She's up here in the UP of Michigan, and she also got the BQH. What?
Right. Yeah, BQH. Yep.
And so now she's certified in that too.
Awesome.
But yeah, she's really, really amazing. And I had an experience that was just out of this world.
Oh, wow. Can't wait to hear about it. So yeah, I mean, a lot of people are looking into doing this and are learning to do it and wanting it done for themselves. So I always love hearing about this. That's why I have Allison Coe on and everything. So I love these things, you know.
Yeah, me too, because it's so interesting what comes out of you. You can't imagine it until you have it done.
Yeah.
And for me, you know, my first impression of once I was under was that I was just in this black place.
Mm-hmm.
And when I finally started realizing what I was, I looked like Tinkerbell.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And so, you know, that has to be like the equivalent of, what's her name? I can't think of her name. The one that does all the online or the videos.
I'm thinking of, so it's like, so you were a fairy basically, like size-wise, were you real tiny too?
Right, yeah. It was just like I looked down and it was, you know, you start out very cartoonish.
Mm-hmm.
And you're looking at yourself, and you know, and I look just like Tinkerbell.
That's
amazing. And so anyway, we went through the planet that I was on. I was actually in space, and I actually went to this planet, and I lived in a tree. And when all was said and done, partway through the session, I realized that I really wasn't a fairy.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the impression your higher self gives you, so that, you know, I would imagine, so you're not freaked out at what you really were.
Right.
And so, in that lifetime, I lived on several different planets. I was also aquatic.
Ooh. So you could live in the water or out of the water?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I could live in the water and out of the water. Mm-hmm. And I saw several planets, and as I'm coming to them, you know, one of them had like pink mountains, and the mountains themselves were all that there was of land. There was no other land. And the mountains went down into the water, and that's where we were aquatic beings. And get this, Shane, even then I had said something about having that, not necessarily a hive mind, but that we all thought as one, all of the beings that were there with me, and we all looked alike. We looked like pollywogs. And so, and at one point during the session, Dolores Cannon was there.
Wow. So this is for sure a different planet, because the colors aren't like Earth, right? Pink mountains and stuff.
Right, exactly. The water was real dark. It was I don't even know how to describe the color of what the water was. But yeah, the pink mountains. I was on a planet also that was all white, but it wasn't snow. So in the several lifetimes that the several planets that I lived on, it was very interesting, and we were rescued off of one of the planets by Arcturians. I couldn't even say it at the time. You know, it was like my mouth couldn't pronounce the word.
Mm-hmm.
And also, while I was under, I don't know if you remember being at the point where you literally almost couldn't spit words out. You were throwing pictures at the person that was asking you the questions.
Right.
You know, I was like, I couldn't understand why she couldn't read my mind. And then when the session was done, she said that she could. She actually was getting those pictures, that she could read my mind to a certain extent.
Wow.
Because after the session was done, I sat down and drew out some of the pictures, and she agreed that, you know, that's exactly what she had pictured in her mind. So
you're talking about actually sending some visuals or graphics to the practitioner during the session?
Yes.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
Because the strange part about it was there was a couple of times where I almost forgot what English was. Like, it was almost like I couldn't speak.
Right. It's like that world you lived in, or that you were sort of sent back to, you were telepathic, and that's how they communicated, through pictures or notes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, it was amazing. And, you know, and as your session goes on, everything gets clearer and more real, and the colors get brighter, and like I said, it's almost like you start to slip into that life.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was very strange. And like I said, Dolores Cannon showed up in the session and basically telling me to tell the practitioner that she was keeping an eye on her and she had her stamp of approval. And then I also saw Lee's mother. She showed up in my session, Lee Oshner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, her mother showed up and gave me a big thumbs up, or, you know, because I was questioning. I had the practitioner question on if the dead people I was seeing was for real.
Uh-huh.
And so that's, I think, why she was thrown in there, is because, yes, I am, I thought were figments of my imagination is actually real, that I'm actually seeing the people that, I have a lot of dead people visit me, Shane.
Right. Now, who's Lee Oshner again?
She's on your, she's in your, I do believe she's one of your subs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I haven't, come to think of it, I haven't seen her for a while.
Yeah, the name seems familiar, but I just can't, you know, I got a lot of subs nowadays, so it's kind of hard to keep up. I miss the good old days of, like, you know, the same 24 people that, you know, and then I typically knew their real name and their screen name, so it's like, you know, like Meditation Man, and, you know, I know them as their, just like you know, Biker Babe and Sharon, and so it's like,
yeah.
It's cool, though. Like Jamie, shout out to Jamie in the chat. He's been with me from the beginning, so lots of love and
awesome. Well, Lee, I had was trying to go to bed one night off of a midnight shift,
mm-hmm.
and I couldn't go to sleep, and I kept seeing Lee's face in my mind, and it was driving me crazy. So finally, I got up and I went and I sat at the computer, and I messaged her, and I said, I'm pretty sure I have a message for you from somebody. Mm-hmm. And this one song kept going through my head, and it was making me crazy. I couldn't function. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't do anything until I talked to Lee. And so we had
yeah, she's in here, by the way, too.
Is she?
Yeah.
Hey, Lee,
for some reason, I was imagining Lee, like Lee. So that's why it didn't ring a bell. But yeah.
Right on. Yeah, she says, I'm watching Biker Babe. But I had called her, or she called me, and we talked back and forth and chatted back and forth, and we realized that I was getting a message from her mother, and I could actually even see her mother in my mind, you know. Yeah. And she got the message, and it was actually pretty amazing because she got a message I think that she really needed to hear. Yeah. And I think it made her happy. I hope it made you happy, Lee, because you know, because then she showed up again in my QHHT session. Her mother did, and I described her, and the description was pretty accurate. And so she got her message. Yeah, it was really cool. Yeah, it made me happy. So anyway, I do see a lot of dead people, and they are people that have passed on, and
but they're not really dead, are they? I mean, they're dead to us here, but, you know, This isn't the end, is it? That's amazing, because it seems like it's the end, and I know people have problems thinking about the afterlife, but it's just like they give up their suit, basically, and go back somewhere else.
Right, exactly. And that's what it is, because I know that I was friends with a woman. She was about 80 years old, 85 years old when she passed away, mm-hmm. and I had known her my whole life. And she passed away. When she passed away, it broke my heart because I spent so much time with her. Mm-hmm. And so I could never understand why she never came back to see me after she passed away. And a few months ago, she finally did, and she was the kind of person who was tough, you know, and she never had grandchildren. We were more or less her grandchildren, my sister and my brothers and I. And so I think that she was kind of giving me the message that, you know, hey, Sharon, you're a bigger girl than this. You can handle it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Alba Weinman, that's who I was thinking about. You know, it's kind of like my QHHT session was kind of like the equivalent of Elba Weinman finding out she was a Bigfoot as me finding out I was a Tinkerbell.
Oh, I didn't know about that one with Alba Wyman. Yeah, I love Alba. She does great videos.
Oh, you got to watch that one, Shane. That one is so funny. You will laugh. It's the funniest QHHT I've ever watched.
So she did her. Who did her session?
I can't remember the name of the guy. I guess I didn't.
Oh, okay.
You know, I was more concerned with laughing at what happened to her than.
Yeah. I've only seen her do it for other people, and of course, if you take the BQH session, she does this big segment where she shares all of her secrets of how she does such great videos where you can hear the person really well and stuff like that. So other than that, I haven't seen her get her own have her own session done. So that's really neat. Is it on her channel? Do you know?
Yes, it is. So
okay.
If you look it up.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll look through and find it.
I think it's called I Have Big Hairy Feet.
Oh, so she looks down and she's like, oh my gosh. Oh, that's wild.
Of all the people in the world you'd least expect to be a Bigfoot, it would be her, you know?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And of all the people in the world you'd least expect to be a Tinkerbell, that would be me, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's wild.
So anyway, get this. In my session, one of my questions was asking why I have the O negative blood.
Mm-hmm.
And my higher self or whoever, I had a helper come in on my session.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was kind of weird. After all was said and done, I was a little creeped out by it. But Cynthia, she caught it right away. She realized that it was a helper, and the helper basically said that the Arcturians were the ones that gave me the O negative blood. Wow. And so she was asking how that came about, because nobody in my family has O negative blood.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the only one, unless I'm the mailman's kid, but I don't think that's the case. But yeah, they said that and I could see them doing it. I could actually see they had a device that looked like something that you would do, like a what do they call that for diabetes, or when your kidneys are failing, like one of those machines where they
dialysis or whatever I think it's called.
Yeah, something similar to that.
Mm-hmm.
No, who knows? You know, who knows?
Right. So it's like they gave you a transfusion and gave you the O negative blood.
That's basically what they said. Was that it was given to me, and it was given to me as a protection. That that it wasn't just given for no reason, that it's given to certain people to protect them from certain entities, and there was no real details went into on that, but
Yeah, that's interesting because my wife, she had the blood type, I think it's O negative, where because of being pregnant, she had to get a special shot. So yes. I think, did you have to have those shots? Is that when you're O negative that you have to have it?
They never gave me the shots. They claimed that neither one of my kids were O negative, but they never gave me the shots. So I think my kids were O negative, but for some reason they didn't want to tell me.
Oh, okay. And they didn't even ask about, they might have asked about me, because I think it's only if, the father of the children isn't the same that they have to give the shot, or like there could be complications or something along those lines. But because I didn't know, they gave her the shot anyway. And at the time, just out of really just ignorance of not knowing what the heck they were even talking about, because I haven't even really known about this whole RH negative thing until the last year when people are talking about it. And then you consider that, is there bloodlines? I mean, it's a really strange thing that, it's still a mystery to me, and then there's a Mandela effect with it, isn't there? Like the universal blood type swapped or something. Is that a Mandela effect for you, or is it as it always was?
That I as far as I know, it's always been there. It's not really a Mandela effect for me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it was something like where it switched from O negative to O positive. So It was like the O was universal, but the positive and the negative was the part that people thought had switched. But I didn't know, to be honest. So.
Yeah, no, as far as I know, I've always been O negative, and they always, they kind of come after you to donate blood because it is universal.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've donated blood my whole life, but, I just never really thought anything of it. I was kind of dumb right from the get-go on all of this.
Right.
I thought everybody woke up floating next to the ceiling, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, totally. So have you had the sleep paralysis and stuff where you start buzzing and all that? Have you had that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Because I can imagine that freaked me out the first time it happened. I didn't know if it was right after I saw this video about targeted individuals and stuff, and I'm like, they're targeting me. It was right after I started the channel, and it freaks you out at first, but then there was something really familiar about it. I remembered feeling it as a child, and it's like, this was the nightmares I had as a child, is this feeling, and my brain would come up with visuals to go with the feeling I was having, like of a big machine attacking me or something along those lines. But I hadn't had those feelings since I was a kid, so I don't know if I was abducted or what,
Yeah, you described it exactly the way that it happened to me when I was a kid.
Oh, really? That's crazy, isn't it, the way that happens? That's wild.
Yep, I used to sleep with the blankets over my head because I was just terrified.
Yeah.
And I always blamed it on the ice cream I had before I went to bed at night, but now I realize that, all of my dreams are so, lately especially, have been so real, and colors and smells and conversations, and so if we're traveling in our dreams, I totally believe it.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah, I don't know about the silver cord and all that. Do you ever see a silver cord in your head?
No.
Okay.
No. In fact, this last dream that I had, I was we were being invaded, and it was by people that had these really strange, almost Nazi-looking uniforms. And I remember the guy having the gun to my head, and I was waiting for him to shoot me. And somehow there were some other people with me, and we got away, and somebody took the guy's gun away, and I went up behind him. I had the gun, and I shot him smack in the head. And, that's not me.
Yeah.
To just walk up and cold-bloodedly, I had no feelings when I did it, and I was like, wow, I hope this one wasn't for real.
Yeah, really.
Wow, creepy.
Yeah, so it's like you're battling the darkies and stuff in your sleep time or something. Maybe it was a training exercise.
Yeah, that could very well have been. It was very strange.
Yeah, definitely.
But anyway, to get back to the QHHT, I got about 4 more minutes, so I'll go over this really quick. So,
okay.
Okay. When I was in my early 40s, did I tell you about going and having my tubes tied?
I don't think so.
Okay. I went and had my tubes tied, and the doctor called me back a week later and said he needed to speak to me. And so I went back to his office, and he pulled up pictures, and he said, and the guy was Oriental, and so he was a little difficult to understand, but he pulled pictures up from my surgery, and he said, I removed all of the scar tissue from your previous surgeries. Well, I had never had a previous surgery other than a tonsillectomy. I thought I had talked about this before. Did I, or did I not?
You might have talked to me about it in email. Now, it sounds familiar.
Oh.
I don't think the viewers got to hear, though. So.
Oh, okay. So I told him I had never had any previous surgeries, and he argued with me. Oh, yes, you have. There was no arguing with him. He was determined that I had these surgeries, and handed over the pictures and said, goodbye, see ya. And I went home, and I'm like, what the heck,
Yeah.
I've never had any previous surgeries. And so that was one of my questions in my QHHT session was, have I had previous surgeries because of the scar tissue the doctor removed.
Mm-hmm.
And it did come out in my session that, yes, what happened to me, according to what my higher self said, was that there was an implant. Somebody put an implant in me, and it was the bad guys. And that was the impression I got. It was the bad guys. And so the good guys had to remove it, and the guy who actually supposedly did the surgery on me was a big fat-headed alien who's big fat-headed in more ways than one. He really thought he was all it, and he screwed up the surgery, and that's where all the scar tissue came from.
Oh, wow.
So, my whole life I've been wondering, where I would have gotten the scar tissue from, and it's kind of freaky that that's how it came out, was in the QHHT session. It was like nothing I had ever dreamed it would be about.
Right. Now, do you know if the implant was after you had children or before?
That, I honestly don't know. It had to have been after I had children.
That's interesting.
Or I would, because it was painful.
Yeah. Well, one
and
thing.
Why would I?
Go ahead. Sorry.
And why would I all of a sudden, in my early 40s, have pain down there? So I'm guessing it's after because I had my last child at like 23. I only had 2 kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's strange. Now, some of your well, I guess you got to go now. I would recommend checking out Sherry Wild if you haven't already. She's got the book Forgotten Promise. The Forgotten Promise is the name of it. I just finally made it back to that and finished, but she's got a really interesting story about abductions and getting, what do you call it, like exams on ships and stuff, but she was really they were her family that was abducting her. But this sounds different than, if it was the darkies doing it. But there could be, with your other stories that I hope you can share sometime, it sounds like you might have had interactions with Star Family too, you know what I mean? So could be this battle going on.
That's kind of the feeling I'm getting, is that a lot of the things that have happened to me that I always thought were normal, that happened to everybody else. Everybody else saw all the UFOs and all this other stuff, that now I'm realizing that how unique it probably really is, and that all of my experiences are stemming from that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well,
very strange stuff.
I won't hold you up. It's 45 after. I think that was your cue to go, but definitely want to have you back to share those stories of the car and all that other. You got a lot of great stories. I can't wait for you to share.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for having me again, Shane. This was fun.
No problem. Lots of love and light to you.
You too, Shane. Thanks.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Awesome. I'm going to, I think I have it ready to go here. I'm going to call up Susan. If I did that right. Yeah, I think I did that right. Okay, yeah, if you do want to talk, send me a text. And I did get your text from the 631, so I will call you back. I got Nancy to call back after Susan. How are you, Susan?
Good. I'll let you guys finish. You have 2 lines going?
No, it's just delayed. So, so yeah, you're listening to the past.
Wow. Okay, got it.
Yeah, it's kind of confusing.
Yeah, and then on my phone where I was listening, it wasn't that far yet where you hung up. So
I was
like, who's calling? I want to keep the line open. Oh, it's Shane. Okay. Yeah. Okay, well, I was just trying to think of where I wanted to start, because there's been so many things talked about on the previous shows, and you and Michelle, gosh, I get triggered so much with synchronicities.
Which Michelle?
Via Michelle. Oh, Michelle.
Walling or Wolf?
Michelle. Yeah, Wolf.
Okay. Yeah, it's funny.
Well,
I have
yes, there's so many.
Yeah, I have multiple Angelas, multiple Michelle's, and yeah, it's funny.
Yes. But yeah, she's an activator. I mean, I get so activated, and when you guys dialogue, I love the dialogue so much, and it just triggers so many things that are synchronicities to what you guys are talking about. And I know that's what happens through the whole group. You can, everyone's responses, and you can just feel it.
Yeah, I can too, and I can feel this connection that we have together. And I just sent her a screenshot yesterday. It was funny because they had grabbed just the still image of her making a funny face, and my son was like, "Are you sending that to her?" I'm like, "Yeah, she's like my sister. This is hilarious." I knew she wouldn't think it was very funny, but I just had to show her because it was just a funny face she made, and I don't know. It was just like I feel like she's like a sister, totally. Like we've known each other forever, so.
Yes, and the transparency, it's almost like Michelle's so great. She can laugh at herself. But, I mean, we see her in her glorious light, and we see her with her, when it's buffering, yes, it stops on funny faces. But but expressive people, well, you'll catch them making all kinds of crazy faces.
Yeah, that's why I put my own thumbnails up, just so I don't have to be at risk of something like that happening.
I know, it can be so, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I wish I could get that off the web. But
right.
Anyway. Well, I wanted to tell a story of what happened with a tattoo of mine that I have. And it was, I think I mentioned to you in an email that we had gone to the lake. I had gone to the lake to get with Shira and her guy, Ronnie. And it was crazy getting there. But once we made it, it was just so great. And it was like the next morning, my son, Matthew, passed away at 29, and it was a motorcycle wreck. And and we had, but there were so many beautiful gifts and synchronicities around my life. The month or so ahead of it happening, I had gotten a visitation from butterflies, and I knew it was a visitation. I was listening to Yes, which, they have such spiritual, positive music, and I was really enjoying my day, and I was in fellowship with Spirit, and these butterflies started showing up. There were these little purple butterflies, and they were just, every time I looked down, it looked like they had multiplied, and where are all these coming from? And they started kind of following me where I would go, and a few yellow ones showed up, and it just felt like such a gift, and I was enjoying it. And 2 weeks later, this accident had happened, and, of course, we're devastated, and he had such a tribe of friends in Oklahoma City that he had touched their lives. And so the gifts to me were just massive. I had his friends coming to me by bonfires. I stayed in Oklahoma City for a week and just soaked this up. And they would tell me the stories of different ways he had touched them. And, oh, are you his mom? Are you Matthew's mom? I love you. I want to tell you this about your son. And it was just really magical while very sad. It was also very uplifting. And anyway, his friends, he had a big I am tattoo on the back of his neck. And there were multiple reasons he did that. But in my heart, I just thought, well, that is the name of God, and that's a great thing to have stamped on your body. That's cool. I just thought it was very cool. And I didn't know all the things about I am that are present now, but in my awareness and in all over the internet. It's great. I love your I am. I love your I am disclosures. Those are so helpful just to have it running through. I would use them at work when I was working at Colt, but anyway.
They are real helpful. I do have a playlist for anybody that doesn't know what she's talking about. You can check out the playlist, and it's the I Am Discourses by Saint Germain, and it's been a big help. I don't hit those super low lows anymore, because now I catch myself and I begin to use those I am proclamations and keep myself from ever getting too far down. I'm not saying I don't have low days, but sometimes I would fall into these these really low lows for weeks at a time and stuff, and that doesn't happen anymore. Now I know I have control over it. Yeah.
Yay. Steadier. I mean, get through that physical stuff better too that way. Well, back to the tattoos. Several of his friends got I am tattoos, and I got a butterfly because I felt so connected to that visitation and just the things that were helping me. And so I had a butterfly tattooed on the lower part of my arm, where when I bend it, I can see it. And so Shira and I, back to the story at the lake, we were standing together and talking about how much the dragonflies seem to be interacting with us. And I know so many people are having visitations from dragonflies and, noticing it. And so we were talking about that, and she said, oh, a butterfly. And she goes, oh, that makes me think of Matthew, of course. And then it landed on my shoulder, and it started flapping its wings. And I just got really still and excited, and just was waiting to see what it was going to do. And she started cheering up, and she goes, oh, it is. It's just like Matthew's coming to, say, let us know he's here, or something to that effect. And then it flew off of my shoulder and landed right on my tattoo.
Oh, wow.
And it hit. I know, I did it twice, and we were just in awe, and it just fluttered away, and it was like, thank you for letting us know you're here. It was so beautiful. But so that was cool, speaking of blessings from our loved ones. And I had told you before, Nako Bear is really special to me in that band, because Matthew had just met him 2 weeks before his passing. He had been in, they had a Shangri-La concert, and he had some stage, and he did meet him, and he gave him the stage. And so when Matt passed, I wrote him, and I said, you met my son, and I want you to know how much it meant to me when he showed me your music, and, I shared a few things with him. And he wrote back and told me, yeah, we burnt the stage down the road. So it was really nice to have that acknowledgement, and their consolence. It was really beautiful. And so, of course, I love the band anyway, because Matthew had shown them to me, and he had gotten I think I mentioned in a comment that I was basically in a church that was as cultish as, you can be, and still seem pretty on track, but we really were. They had, we had home groups, and shepherds were, they were called shepherds in charge of the home group, which was okay. You can call things, and it's representative. But then, when they started talking like whatever your shepherd says is like, God, they're like God with flesh on. They've got the word for you, whether you agree or not. And it's like, what? Things like that begin to happen. So, anyway, without going deep into that, Matthew was raised, with me. I fought my battle with it. I didn't agree with it. Every part of me was going, no, this isn't it. This isn't the God I know, and It's not who I relate to. And so, of course, I was struggling and questioning the whole time I went through church, because I'd been a believer since I was 8, but I struggled with everything about the church all through the years. So that was the icing on the cake. But I also was very committed to the marriage that was almost ended up being like an arranged marriage by the time the pastor got involved. So, all the red flags were everywhere, but I was too young and naive at the time to catch it all. And but latter years, I certainly figured a lot out. But anyway, Matthew rebelled, of course, against the religion that I divorced their dad, but all my kids are from that marriage, and they had to deal with the results of the difference between me and their dad and the extremities. And Matthew was on a campaign to disprove God. And at some point I had said to him, well, son, you're kind of like on the soapbox the same way. You're acting like the very thing you resist. And he really received that and appreciated it, and he grew. So by the time he shared Nako Bear, it was the video I sent you with the visuals, that's so cool, long one. Yeah, and I just knew in my heart, oh, he's seeking, he's back. He's not resisting God. He's not resisting spirit. He's not blowing. And I talked to him about it. I said, that was so cool that you shared that with me. And what's changed? And he goes, well, Mom, we change every 7 years. We have a whole new set of skin. I mean, you got to give me room to change here. So that was so cool. But anyway, but I wanted to share that. And
that's awesome.
And then, yeah. And, there's so many other things. Like I said, if I had my whole list, I'd keep you on here for a little bit longer, but I'm not. And that's just because I think everything's just ramping up. And
oh, yeah.
You almost, yeah, I mean, I'm sure, like I said, with all of us, it's hard not to have so much to say listening to all of the synchronicities we're sharing. And I did want to say that I was thinking about, was on Michelle's live stream last night, there was dialogue about our star family, finding our star families, and some people know Palladian or Arcturian, and like you guys were talking about that with the blood type. And it's amazing to me. I have no idea. I have no memories of my past lives. I have no clue who's around me in the way of star family. But I started thinking about it, and aren't we discovering our star family on this channel? Yeah. I mean, we're representatives here of our, and when I hit that inside my spirit, I felt like a great big yeah around me. Yeah.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
So we're doing it. We all, and we'll find out more as we go, I guess. Right? I mean, I know some people already have contact, but anyway, I'm definitely star family curious.
Definitely, yeah, and I find that we're finding all of each other now, and it's this divine reuniting, and we don't really fully understand it, but we have this knowing that we're in the right place with the right people.
Yeah, I know. I've had to be in some of those flying courses with you guys. I know I had to be there because I love flight. Anything that gets you airborne is just fun. Skiing, and there's all the sports that make you feel like you're flying, and so I can really relate to that, and I'm sure we see each other in the dream world.
Yeah. And I used to have them all the time when I was a kid, but I stopped having those flying dreams, and then so to have that again as an adult, I was like, oh wow, it was almost, it took me back to my childhood, that whole nostalgia of feeling the being in the air and flying. It's just awesome. I can't wait.
Yeah, to manifest it and feel it, but I don't know. We just need to follow Michelle around because she's starting to glow, and maybe she's going to start floating here pretty soon.
Yeah. Yeah, grab onto a leg and have her pull us up with her.
Yeah, that's right. The handout, yeah. Hang on to each other. Fun. Well, also I had a synchronicity I wanted to share about my car. I've moved in with my mother. I was in Jones, staying at Terry's. Mm-hmm. And he and I were married for a while, many years ago, but he was a beautiful stepdad to my kids and a beautiful friend all my life. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so by his good graces, I've been able to transition from Okmulgee to where I am in Jones. Mm-hmm. But I'm now, my mom is 87 years old, taking care of my brother who's on oxygen full time. And, I've been waiting on her to let me come on, because she needs my help. And she has that China business here, which, you've done the flea market thing, and I'm trying to get a sale going because she has like 3 rooms and a garage full of inventory, China inventory. Yeah, this woman packs boxes still and ships them, and but it is time to slow her down because she has had some things happen this past year that made her go, boy, if I don't have someone here, Mike and I are in trouble. Better call Susie. It's time to get her here. So we're in that transition, but I also had extreme car problems. So she and Mike, my brother, came together and said, we're going to get her a car. Yay, thank you. So we ended up getting this cruiser. Okay, and I wasn't looking for that car. I've heard a lot of bad things about them, really, but it was so cute. It was a little convertible. And
a PT Cruiser?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
A little turbo. It's really fun. But when I drove away, and I got a synchronicity that I felt like just nailed it for me, because I didn't know what car to pick, and we were kind of pressured, and it was really hot going shopping at that time. And I said, Mom, what do you feel about that, about the best test drive? She said, I like that cruiser. And I said, I do too, but I was really nervous about it. Mm-hmm. And I saw this, I was trying to find, I said, well, God, I want a real world confirmation. Mm-hmm. And I loved the wings on the cruiser, and I'd been noticing birds a lot. And I tried to see if there was a bird that they referred to as a cruiser, and I didn't find anything like that. As I was getting off the web, I saw this little bird symbol, like a logo for somebody, and I clicked on it, and it said, enjoy the ride. And I went, oh my gosh, that was, that was what my son would say, Matthew. And so, and I took the only t-shirt, I treasured this t-shirt that has enjoy the ride on it, and that was what made me go, yeah, that's the cruiser, we'll enjoy that, And anyway, drove it off the lot and had nothing but overheating. Oh, it was so stressful for about a month. But once we got, oh man, I was going to enjoy the ride. I'm going to enjoy the ride, guys. This is the right car, right? I didn't make a mistake. Help! And then I found out that parts are really hard to get for them because they, I guess, discontinued a lot of them, and they didn't make that many. So anyway, it's been quite a ride, but I do enjoy the ride. And if
so you're back in Okmulgee now, right?
No, I'm here in Oklahoma City. I went from Jones over. Most of my family's in Oklahoma City. And by the way, kudos to all of us that have family that's waking up with us. This is such a blessing to see Michelle and her daughter and her mom interacting, and Sherry and her mother and, her family, and the kids, everyone growing up. It's such a blessing because we don't all have that. That's such a great commodity. And the two sisters you had on. I mean, yeah. That is so cool. And for
Kindred
as
being.
religious,
yeah,
that was so cool. But, for as religious as we grew up, because you tell my story every time you talk. I mean, I was in that. Yeah, but resisting, and as I'm sure you did, like you talk about.
Yeah.
But Mom, my mother, though, it's still, where will you go if you die tonight? Okay. Right. That kind of thing is still ingrained, but at the same time, she is waking up. Yeah. So it's really cool to watch, and Fox is helping her and my brother wake up.
Yeah, but, I think it's... Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'll remember.
Oh, okay. I was just going to say it helps that you can sort of take the things that Jesus taught and that they teach in church and just view them a little differently. So it's not like you're really throwing them out. It's just like, what if it's meant to be this, understood this way? Because all that stuff still makes sense, but just not in the way that they teach it in church,
Yes, and why, and again, we're never supposed to take it from another person anyway. That's, right. We're always looking for a king. Stop that. Anyway, but the other one thing I wanted to tell you to extend my butterfly story from the lake, I forgot this one is cool too. Okay, so I have that story, and my brother, we were at the doctor's office together. I said, Mom, I don't need you to come. You stay home. I can do this. And she always thinks she has to help me. But anyway, got her to stay home, and Mike and I went. And it's not very far, and we were sitting, waiting, and something brought up Matthew or something, and he just reached over and he patted my arm. I'm so sorry you had to go through that. And, it's sometimes awkward when you have, for the most part, of course we grieve at moments and we go through things, and I had, of course, afterward and through it was just horrifyingly grieving. But I'm at a place now where, he's around us. He's in fellowship with us, and I don't, when people want, sometimes they feel sadder and you have to comfort them. And you don't know how to act sometimes. And I thought, I'm not going to feel like I have to see, I know. I'm not going to feel like I have to act a certain way because someone is feeling that way themselves. So I just said, I turned my chair around and I looked at him and I said, well, there were so many good things, though, that have come. And Matthew keeps, bringing himself to us and letting us know he's there. And I said, so I have to be positive, and I feel positive about it. Mm-hmm. And then I said, oh, Mike, let me tell you the story, what happened at the lake with Shira and the butterfly, okay? Mm-hmm. So I tell him the story, and he gets goosebumps all over his arm, and his eyes got big, and he goes, oh, my gosh, that is so cool. And he goes, I look at my goosebumps. I reached over and I touched his arm to feel his goosebumps, and his eyes got even bigger, and I go, what's going on? This really moved you, didn't it? And I'm just like, not aware at all, and he's going, I've got this energy going through me, like when I was touching his arm.
Yeah.
So that, it was just, oh, cool. I didn't feel the energy going out of me,
Right.
but I was a conduit nonetheless, and Matthew touched us all just like through that stream of events, and it was just just blessed us all over again. And I don't know what was happening to him. Maybe he had a little Kundalini awakening, but it really was a good time for us to go by ourselves and be together at the doctor and experience that. So thanks
awesome.
for listening.
Oh, thanks for sharing that. I'm sure that's the same thing that happens when I'm talking to Michelle. She'll say, I'm tingling from what you just said, so I know it's, and I get the same thing. So it's like these little confirmations, and I totally feel like that's our connection, to our higher selves, and it's our little indication. And he's, that connection's getting stronger for all of us. So that was, his little confirmation that's something real going on, so that's awesome.
Yeah. And again, no matter how awake we are, it's all happening regardless. So people, whether they understand what's going on or not, and I don't understand most of it, but it's fun.
Yeah.
It's a blast.
and I think that's really our main job here, is that when people start freaking out from, you're like, it's okay, I don't really know what's going on either, but it's a good thing, so just go with it, you know what I mean?
Yes, and you've been doing such a great job on that, especially with some of the stress that happens to people with the Mandela effect. God bless you for helping it not be a dark thing and scary, That's helpful. And it helps us turn around, and, we're all helping to get prepared for all the shock that's coming. We'll be like shock absorbers and, help the society, that gets overwhelmed by all the things that are coming. But anyway.
Well, I do appreciate you calling and sharing.
Yeah, and I appreciate being a part of this tribe very much. I appreciate everyone that's sharing, and I understand why Sherry's doing her videos. I love that she's doing that, and I love the books that she's bringing forward. And but I get it. I mean, it's like we need to be telling each other these things so that others start. It's helping everyone find their voice.
Definitely. So,
it's very appreciated.
And it's my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Susan.
God bless you all. Yeah,
God bless you.
Love to everyone.
All right. Much love to you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Susan from Oklahoma City. That's awesome. It's wonderful to have those synchronicities and then to have other people get the chills and stuff. I'm going to call up Not So Fancy Nancy. See if I can get her on the horn here. And 631, I will get a hold of you here shortly after Nancy. Nancy,
hello?
Are you there? Yeah, sorry for the delay.
Hello.
I'm calling from the future. Can you hear me? Oops, wait, she can't hear me. Let me see. Microphone. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay, awesome. Sorry, it was the settings were wrong for Facebook, but I fixed it.
No problem.
So how are you doing, Nancy?
I'm doing good. Oh, yeah, there's a delay. Okay. Hi, Shane.
Yeah, it's confusing, but
okay.
I got you here now.
I'm going to turn the screen off then so I don't get...
Or yeah, you can mute it too if you want to keep an eye on the chat.
No, I can't see it on the TV.
Oh, okay.
So for 9/11, jeez, got a lot of that this week, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay, so you're on the East Coast then, huh? I don't have your location. Where are you actually?
Montreal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. How you doing, Shane?
Pretty good. Everybody, this is Not So Fancy Nancy, and I'm going
Hi,
to switch
everyone.
it and put Montreal for your location.
Okay.
And you can just be known as Nancy. You're fancy to me, so.
Aw, thank you. That's what people call me at work. So, okay, so I've been writing these little notes down as people were talking, and like
Yeah,
Susan reminded me of some things from last night too, because I caught Michelle's live last night as well, and so I've got them all mixed up. So I'll just go through. Well, what should I? You know, I'm going to talk about something that happened a few weeks ago, so I'm going to kind of like back up a bit.
okay.
Remember when I had told you when Lori Lothian had talked about that uh, um, sound healing video that she had?
Definitely. Yeah, I can't remember the lady's name, but definitely remember
Her,
that.
her name was Jolene.
Right.
Jaylene,
Mm-hmm.
and Jaylene Tracy. Anyway, I've been listening to that sound healing quite a bit for a few weeks then, and I remember I got up and I was going to work. I work in the evening, so I was waiting for my ex because we were still carpooling, and I got out to my walkway. I'm renting a condo, so I'm coming out of the building, and
Mm-hmm.
I noticed a piece of it looked like a blade of grass. Okay, wait, let me back up. In the sound healing, work is being done, healing work with mantis beings and Arcturians.
Right.
I forgot to mention that. So I've done those healings a few times, and so I'm walking out of my place and I see this like blade of grass in the middle of the walkway, wondering why the heck would I notice
Right.
something so small. And then I double look and I see, oh my God, it's a praying mantis. And
Oh.
I'm just bent down a little bit and I'm looking at it and it's looking up at me like I don't know what it's thinking, like don't step on me, don't touch me, what are you doing? I don't know what. And I'm thinking, oh my God, is this like a message from the healing that I was doing with the mantis beings and visualizing the green light and stuff like that?
Right.
And I walk around it and I bend down again and look at it and his head's turned the other way, looking straight at me again. And I took a picture of it and and then the next day, I kid you not, this was a beautiful sunny day. The next day, it was raining, and he was still there in the same spot.
What?
And I was thinking, how could he have stayed here? Maybe he left and he came back. I don't know, but and not have gotten like stepped on or something because it's the walkway.
Right.
This is eight apartments in there, and I couldn't believe it. And I took a picture of it, and I'm like, man, this really must be a sign or something. So
Yeah.
I looked up mantis. Oh no, I shared the photo on in the sunlight and in the rain, and I shared it on the Consciousness Wave group on Facebook. And
Mm-hmm.
somebody sent me a link to read up what the mantis being meant, what kind of a message it was, and it was talking about really going into more into peaceful, mindful time and. I guess it was kind of a message. It was just really interesting. And yeah, so that's funny.
Yeah, that's wild.
Uh,
That I
that
know people
that's
were talking about dragonflies, but praying mantis are could be definitely symbolic. And then there's the mantis beings that it could be referring to too. So
that's it because
yeah,
that's kind of their connection, right?
yeah, that would be
And
strange though. I'm not gonna lie to come across some mantis beings. I don't know. That'd be kind of weird.
yeah, I don't know. Like I could think of it as something freaky and scary, or I could
Yeah.
think of it as something nice because if in that sound healing, the Jaylene lady works with the mantis beings because they have a higher frequency healing, something or other like that.
Yeah.
So, I was taking it as a good thing, I guess. That was interesting. Another thing, I got to see Lori again because she was in town. I went out for dinner with her, and it was such a nice evening. And actually, that's the night I tried to call in at the end of the night, but you had to go.
Oh,
Yeah, I was coming back from dinner with her. It was
that's
super nice.
awesome.
Yeah, it was great. It was really nice. Um,
That I think that's
let's
great that everyone's in at least in their areas are getting together. Matter of fact, Susan,
yeah.
who just was on, she was in Tulsa for one of those Naco concerts not too long ago, but I wasn't able to go. It was such short notice. She told me the day of the
Uh,
concert, so I wasn't able to go, but that would have been awesome.
Because you're in that area, right? You're in that.
Yeah, she's actually in Oklahoma City, but it's like 2 hours away. But she came up here for one of those concerts, and that would have been
And you're.
great to go join.
Oh yeah. And you're where exactly?
Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Tulsa, Oklahoma. Okay, because
Yeah,
I know, like that's the Midwest in the U.S., right? Like for
yeah,
me,
it's right
from where
above
I am.
Texas. Yeah, I'm really far from you.
Yeah, but what's funny is that when I think about the Midwest, my only references are from movies and stuff like that, all
Right.
those areas and stuff. So it's just funny that I know somebody from that area.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm from
And I
St. Louis originally, which is right in the heart of the Midwest, where the arch is. That's pretty much the
okay.
famous landmark everybody would
So,
recognize, probably.
oh yes, 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 yes. But yeah, okay. My uncle has actually been there. Actually, yeah, I've seen pictures of that.
Yeah.
So that would be underneath what in Canada? Do you know?
Well, we're Central Time Zone, so we're just to the left of the Great Lakes area, which is actually where Biker Babe is at, in Michigan, I believe. So,
Okay.
so yeah, Central Time Zone. So it's actually eight
Mm.
eighteen here right now.
Okay,
So,
so it's an hour difference. Okay.
mm-hmm,
Because what I know, the only places I've been really in the U.S. is Florida. I went
mm-hmm.
to California once. Obviously, been to New York, New Hampshire, Maine, those areas.
So
But
that's all East Coast stuff.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Let me see now. I have so many interesting things that came up. We were talking about this last night, but let me skip over to. So we spoke about dragonflies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Yesterday, I'm finding the last couple of weeks, I'm really getting like even more intuitive, and I'm feeling things even more. Like I'm starting to like I have tarot cards. I've had them for a long time, but I
Mm-hmm.
never really like practiced it or whatever. But lately I've been like getting the itch to do it, and I pulled out some cards for a friend of mine, and I couldn't believe how I was able to kind of answer questions with the cards,
Mm-hmm.
and they really resonated with her. And I was talking to her a lot about synchronicities and stuff like that. And this was a couple of weeks ago. So yesterday I'm in my car, and she calls me. She calls me on the phone. I'm in my car. I got my Bluetooth, and this dragonfly just pops in front of my windshield. I'm in like slow traffic on the bridge, and it just pops up on my windshield and flies off. And then
Mm-hmm.
I was drawn to ask her, "Hey, Joe, has any has any dragonflies come to visit you lately?"
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, "Oh my God, there's a dragonfly with me right now on this rock."
Oh my God.
She's a hiker, so she goes like to New York and Vermont, and she hikes, and she's like gets incredible footage. She's got this camper van and everything, and she just loves to do that. So like, and I was like freaking out. I'm like, "Oh my God, I don't know how come that just came out of me." And I felt the need to ask you that. It's
Mm-hmm.
almost like the dragonfly came to me to ask you or connect us for some reason. And she said, "Oh, this is so crazy." She goes, "And I've been thinking about you the last few days while I'm up here, and all these synchronicities that you were talking to me about. I have so many revelations that I can't wait to see you and talk to you about." So that was interesting. Um, hmm.
Yeah, I
So
think it
funny how,
was. Yeah, other people were talking about having dragonflies show up too. I think it was.
yeah.
I can't remember
Well,
her name. I'm so horrible with remembering names on the spot, but.
no, that's okay. So am I actually. But I remember mentioning it to you a way back too, because I had seen a dragonfly back then, and I remember you saying that, yeah, they're messengers or in our awakening and stuff like that,
Hmm. It was the caller
as
that
well
lives
as
on the ley line on the East Coast. That was the
uh,
other caller that I was referring to.
tonight,
No,
tonight's
no, no.
caller.
It was a
No,
few
okay.
calls back. That's why I don't. Her name slips my mind right now, and I
Mm,
apologize.
no,
But
no, no,
yeah.
that's okay. So, and speaking about these spikes in the Schumann resonance,
Hmm.
and I've been, you introduced us to Alexis, and I've been watching a lot of Alexis stuff lately.
Hmm.
And yeah, yesterday morning, I woke up with such a headache. Was it yesterday or before yesterday? I had such a splitting headache, especially on the left side of my head.
Hmm.
And I said I can't, because last week I had one as well. I think it was on a Monday, and I had this. I was in bed all day for that. But yesterday I decided to, because I recently took my Holy Fire Reiki courses.
Mm-hmm.
I had taken Reiki maybe 10 years ago, but I never really like practiced it. Just kind of like nonchalantly, I would do it a little bit here, distance healing. But I decided to, to go deeper into it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually Lori that gave me the last time that she was in town. It was actually her that gave me the name of this woman who gave the courses, who I
Mm-hmm.
went to go see, who when she was in town this time, she was going to go see for healing again. It's just so funny. Anyway, and I decided to do the healing on myself. So I put on some solfeggio healing frequency music in my ears.
Mm-hmm.
I asked my guides to come in, Mother, Father, God, Archangel Michael, my highest self to please come in and help me to send this holy fire Reiki healing to help me. At the same time, I was visualizing my highest self, or selves, a few of them from many different dimensions, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
and 100,000 angels, because I said 100,000 angels who are most ready to serve to come in, and I can literally feel and sense like they were around me, and I was buzzing, and then after about 35 minutes, it was gone. My headache was gone, and I was pretty shocked because it's the first time that I really like did it to myself. And I know somebody, I don't remember who, if it was a Luna Ash or someone on your show recently that was talking about if anyone is a healer or into more of the healing, that you would be like, the healings would be even more powerful right now to really get into
Oh, I
it.
think Eileen was talking about that.
Was it Eileen?
Yeah,
Yes?
I
Oh,
believe it was
okay.
talking about with the extra energies in the air.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Oh, yes, yes. Specific times where
Mm-hmm.
there's a spike or something, that is a good time to manifest that, I guess,
Yeah,
or something like
exactly.
that.
Yeah.
So I was pretty impressed because a few weeks ago I had done a couple of distance healings to some people at my work who were having wrist issues and neck issues, and I had sent a distance healing, and they texted me the next day saying that they were like 75 to 80% better.
Mm.
And I was like, wow, is it really, 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 really working? Is it
Yeah.
really happening?
It is hard to wrap
So,
your head around it because you're like, was that a
yeah,
coincidence or?
yeah, yeah, you know? And, but to have done that to myself and that come out of it, I was like, wow, okay, so that's impressive, but it's still unbelievable at the same time. So it's like, I'm between two worlds, well, I guess we all are, right? We're talking about 3D
Mm-hmm.
and 5D, but it's
Yeah.
also between worlds of like, believing what you're seeing or
Right.
believing what you're feeling and hearing or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I find my senses are getting even stronger. I did a meditation the other night. I put on Jason Stevenson, some meditation like to sleep for what was it for? Intention meditation. I
Oh.
listened to yours. I listened to yours too, by the way, and I listened to Eileen's. I love the one for the children, and I try to do at least one or two of them at least 2, 3 times a week.
Mm-hmm.
Because I find it just brings me up to such a nice place. Oh my God, I just really, really, really love it. And
Thank
so
you.
I was doing that Sorry?
I said thank you.
Oh yeah, of course. I don't know, you're not talking to me or somebody on the chat. But so I'm doing this meditation, and all of a sudden I can feel like I'm in and out, like half asleep, but
Mm-hmm.
super, super, super aware at the same time. And I have a friend who has some hip issues recently, and I know that I feel like I'm supposed to be doing Reiki healing, but there's something at the same time that's telling me I have another technique of healing, and I just don't know what it is, but I felt like it was saying it to me in that meditation, and I was seeing my friend, and I was doing all these kinds of techniques on her, included with the Reiki.
Right.
And I was healing her in that meditation. But it was like I was connected to another version of me, like a full-on healing version of myself. And it felt so real and so cool.
That's awesome.
And last night I tried to do the same thing again, but this time what happened was, I think I was about to fall asleep, but then I felt so aware all of a sudden, where like my ear, like, you know, like a dog's ears, you know, just lifts up, and it's like hearing something from a distance. It's like I can hear the floor cracking, and I'm like, oh, is somebody walking in my room, you know? But I know no one's walking there, but the floor cracks a lot, and I was like, why am I waking up to that? It's like that dream that I had when I was a kid I told you about, with the posters in my room, the one that fell on the ground and that woke me up, and it was my sister standing there,
Right.
but it was her in spirit or something, or another dimension.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so I kept opening my eyes, and I'm like, geez, what is that? And I don't want to see anything because I'm afraid to see anything.
Yeah.
But I'm ready to feel stuff, because I do feel things. But I could feel like my hands being like activated, and I was like super, like my senses were heightened.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think I got a little like freaked out at one point, and I just kind of like, okay, never mind, maybe I'm not ready tonight, so I just turned over and I said, oh, let me just fall asleep, and I ended up falling asleep. But we were talking about, on Michelle's show last night, in the chat, we were talking about how not to be afraid of these, you know, little sounds and stuff like that, and
Mm-hmm.
not to give into that fear, you know. So I'm like trying really hard, because like I mentioned yesterday, I come from a long line of fear-mongering parents, especially mothers.
Yeah.
And my mom is constantly worried now. I'm a single mom with a 13-year-old boy, and if I leave him alone for a couple of hours, because I want him to become autonomous a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
she's just got so many worries, and make sure the door is locked and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my God, you got to stop this, please, because I'm trying so hard to let go of the fear, and just to remind myself that we are guided. We got our guides around us, and angels, and light beings, and just we're surrounded by light. And the girls in the chat were helping me out with that too, and you know, making me feel so much better. And I said, I keep telling my mom, you got to stop watching the news and CNN. It's on all the time at my parents' place.
Oh gosh.
So, you know,
yeah,
all
you're just
these
pumping
little
that
things.
fear into you all the time.
Yeah. No kidding. And my dad used to be so spiritual and so into these things, and now he's just like glued to CNN, and Trump is evil, and I have to step away from it. Sometimes can't even talk to my mom, because I have to, like, okay, I'm gonna let you go because, you know, you're bringing down my frequency.
Totally. Yeah, it's hard to even discuss anything without people getting triggered whenever it comes to politics and stuff. It's like, I'm trying to look at this
Yeah.
from a higher perspective, but
Mm-hmm.
people just get triggered, you know? They don't, I don't know. So I
That's
just,
the thing. I feel like we're alone in this group, you know,
mm-hmm.
because everybody else out there is just like, we've advanced so far. I feel that when I speak to people around me, it's like, where have you been? How come you're lagging all the way back over there still with these ideas, you know? It's like
Yeah.
I can't talk with them about any of this. And then I hear people talking about it, and I feel like I've learned so much, and I've gone so far that
Yeah, and they're still tuned
catch
into
up with us.
CNN. Yeah, and it's like,
Yeah.
if I'd watch CNN, it's just to see what not to believe these days. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because it's
Yeah.
TV programming. It's right there. It's programming. So turn it off.
Exactly. And like the girls were saying last night, because there was a lot of female energy in that chat last night, talking about, Michelle was talking about how there are frequencies. Well, Sherry also, because she was on from Overprotected. Hi, I think
Yeah,
she's in
she's
the
here
chat
too.
also.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's in the chat. And Kate also, she was there last night too. How negative entities can attach to music and frequencies in music and in horror movies and stuff like that. And I was saying, like my son sometimes wants to watch horror movies, and I just can't. I can't because it just sticks with me. So I wonder, is it because of that? I mean, is that really?
Yeah.
I guess it's possible, right? That they can attach those energies onto those
Well,
things.
even if it's not like something like what you're talking about, like there's actually spiritual stuff happening on the screen. It's just the fact that I mean, even if there wasn't anything like that, you're sitting there creating this loosh for the evil entities to feed off of you.
Yeah,
You know,
you're
it's
open
just,
to it. Yeah. Okay,
yeah,
so
and you're just
you're
resonating.
reducing that frequency. Yeah. Okay. I get
Yeah.
it.
So it's like the opposite of like being, once you get to this level where you're just sort of your vibration's so high, then it's like you just deal with the ankle biters. They can't really. It's almost like you're immune to it. But if you're sitting there watching something, you're sitting there all in fear and resonating at that. That's like the opposite of that. Even if it's sort of fun to you, you know what I mean? It's still at that lower vibration.
Yeah, because it gives you a little like rush, I guess.
Yeah.
But I like that you said that the other day too, and it stuck with me, the ankle biter thing. I like that because once you do practice staying in a higher frequency, those things really you see it less, or it affects you less.
Yeah.
It's such a better place to be. And I used to be fearful for many, 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 many years. Many years. Oh my gosh. I'm glad. I'm so happy to be where I am right now.
Yeah,
And
me too.
it's with all of your help, all of your stories, all of this connection with all of us. Oh, I'm so happy to be here. And I wanted to mention because here in Quebec, we just recently were allowed to get personalized license plates.
Oh.
And at my work, I'm a waitress, and I have an angel pin that a regular customer had given me, and I wore it all the time when I worked. It was always on my uniform, and for maybe a year since he had given it to me. And we changed our uniforms, and my boss said, okay, no one can wear any more pins. And I was questioning why. I like to send this energy out to, even though before I would practice sending light out to my section when I would work, to my job when I would go to work and stuff. And but that pin just was special to me because it was a regular client that gave it to me, and he felt good enough to be giving it to me. So I just wanted to, kind of pay it forward energetically. But now we weren't allowed to do it, and I asked one of my managers, I don't understand why, and he said, well, you got to be careful because a lot of our clientele are Jewish clientele also. So, they see an angel. Well, I don't know much about the religion, but but they don't believe in angels. I don't know. I don't know much about the religion, but we do have a lot of Jewish clientele at my work, and or maybe my manager was just trying to say we don't want to offend any religion. I guess. I don't know. So we're not allowed to wear this pin anymore. So okay, I'm upset. Now we've got these uniforms where the girls have to wear a tie. So I put it on the tip of my tie, and my tie is tucked into my apron at work, so it's there. But no one sees it. So then I find out we can get these personalized plates. So I decide to get one, and I got "Love You All."
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
That's
so
awesome.
I got and only I have it. Nobody else can have it.
Right.
So I'm the only one in Quebec that has "Love You All" license plates.
Oh,
So
that's so.
I gotta remember. So this is my way of upgrading my angel pin energy to people. I've upgraded it now to reach even more.
Totally. Yeah, I
So I
love
gotta
that.
keep in mind when I'm on the road, not to let my ego get in the way and contradict my message on my license plate.
Totally.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, it's cool that so they just started that, so you're able to get stuff that isn't going to
Yeah.
be you nabbed up one of the good ones, I'm sure, that people are
Oh
going
my
to look
God.
for, and they're like, oh, it's already taken. Nancy
Yeah,
has
or
it.
yes. And I'm thinking of people behind me who want to do a move or they want to honk at me or something. If they notice that and if they're gonna like, oh, if they'll be affected by it or
Yeah.
like I'm just interested about how they react. Like I'm driving sometimes, they're like, do they notice? Do they notice? Oh,
Yeah,
and
that
just
is cool.
quickly,
Hmm.
sorry. Yeah, I was also mentioning last night that for some reason, because I was saying lately, I feel like I'm really starting to get more connected and more intuitive, and you know, uh, and for some reason, I feel like because we're trying to find our star seed families, right? We did
Hmm.
that meditation with Eileen. They were talking about that last night. Susan was mentioning it just before, and I was saying for some reason I feel like I have connection to Arcturian, and I don't know why. It just sounds right to me. And a few years ago, I had drawn this. Um, I didn't even really know I could draw, but I drew an angel,
Hmm.
and somebody said to me, and I drew it out of it was inspired action, okay? And I just like, she just came off the page as I was drawing and erasing and drawing and erasing and adjusting.
Hmm.
And she just came to me, and somebody, or actually a couple people said to me, wow, she looks alien-like. And like, and at first I was like, ooh, alien, because at the time I was not really open or as open as I am now, and I didn't realize, that we've all kind of been there, I guess, and we've got connections, right?
Hmm.
So, but I look at her as a guide to me and possibly maybe my family, that
Yeah.
came through as I was drawing her and came through because it's true. The kind of shape of her head kind of does look a little Arcturian shape, well, from what I've seen. But she's
Hmm.
not blue skin because I didn't think of drawing blue skin because I wasn't thinking of that. And
Right.
I'm assuming Arcturians are all blue skin. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
But
know either.
anyway, there's just that feeling that that's what it is and that I
Hmm.
have that connection. But someone mentioned that we may have connections to many different alien races, ET races.
Oh, totally. Yeah, that's when I had Deborah Solaris on. She was telling me about all my
Yeah,
different histories with all these different races and stuff. So
yeah,
that's pretty wild. I think
yeah.
over.
That was cool. I liked that show. I remember that.
Oh, Susan's actually saying that there is a meditation led by James Gilliland for clearing out negative energies. You might want to check YouTube for.
Oh, I like him. Yeah. Oh, I'm
Yeah,
gonna check that out. James Gilliland. Thank you,
yeah.
Susan.
Well, that's
One,
awesome.
yeah. One quick last thing.
Hmm.
Do you remember? Because this has been popping into my head for the last couple of weeks also. This movie back in the 80s, it was called The Boy Who Could Fly.
Gosh, the title sounds familiar. I can't really remember the
So
movie right off.
so I've been thinking about this movie because like Susan mentioned earlier also about flying, and oh I love flying. I love birds. I love watching birds that are just like not I'm using the word planny, but in English I can't find the word. Pl Like vultures do, they just hover.
Oh, Soar,
Yes,
right?
soar. Sorry, that's
Okay,
it. Oh my
no, no
gosh.
problem.
Yeah, soaring. And I remember when I did a meditation once with my dad. Well, he guided me in a meditation, and that's the first time I had done a meditation, well, to my knowledge, and I was flying, and I loved it. And what was my point? Yeah, so I've been thinking about this boy who could fly because I
Hmm.
remember that movie when I was younger,
Yeah.
and so I looked it up on Apple TV.
Hmm.
Actually, I looked it up on Google first because I didn't remember the title, and I was like, movie boy that can fly, blah 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 blah, and then I found it, so I have it on my wish list, and it's a movie I'm gonna want to rewatch, but it's from the 80s, 84 or 86, I think, and it's about this autistic boy, but I don't remember the whole movie, so I'm gonna have to rewatch it. Maybe there's a message there for me, but
Probably. I've had a few movies like that come to mind, and it's called The Boy Who Could Fly.
the boy who could fly, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
looking at pictures to see if it looks familiar to me.
Well,
Oh,
how old are you, Shane?
44.
Okay, so you're a year older than me. So it's from our time.
Yeah. Yeah, it
Mhm.
looks familiar. Matter of
Mhm.
fact, that boy, I think I know him from something maybe when he was older or something, because,
Yes. Yes, I think so too.
yeah.
Because I know that face.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it somewhere else.
Or even younger, too. He just looks
Yeah,
really
could be.
familiar. I think he was probably in a few different things. Oh, here he
Yeah.
is hovering outside the window with a flower.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks
Yeah.
really familiar. Maybe I
Oh,
need
that
to
was so
watch that too.
fascinating to me when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I remember thinking, God, could we really do that? Well, could we really do that? I think I remember thinking, I wish I could do that.
Right. Totally.
Yeah.
I need to revisit
Mm.
that again. That's cool.
Mm-hmm. I'm
That's
definitely gonna
awesome.
watch it sometime this week.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
Well, I
Yeah.
appreciate you chiming in again, Nancy.
Yeah, I got everything off my list here. Oh, just real quickly. Just
Mm-hmm.
sorry.
No problem.
Real quickly. The other day at work on Saturday night, I just heard this sentence from the table. The woman saying, "Lucy, you got some explaining to do." And some people apparently the Mandela effect that was never said. Is it
That's what I
possible?
heard too. I heard that
Yeah.
he never says that anymore, and I'm like, what? I mean, my
Yeah.
mom watched that all the time, and I've heard
Mhm.
so many people. That's just amazing that, you know. I mean, a lot of these,
Yeah.
I think if we got the word out about them, people would be like, no, I know he said that. And, you
Mhm.
know, that could be their main thing, you know, that could actually wake them up to the fact that this is happening. Because I know for a lot of us, the Mandela effect was a huge wake up call that, you know, things aren't what
Mhm.
we thought they were. So,
Oh yeah. So just to hear her saying that just shows to me that okay, it exists. Somebody remembers it that way.
oh yeah, totally. That's the whole thing with the different timelines, and people feel like they went to a different timeline. But if you stick around long enough, you start noticing that, you know, if it is a timeline thing, there's other people from it too, because people remember. Matter of fact, the book I was just reading called, I finished reading, I started a while back, but it's called The Forgotten Promise. She referred to two different Mandela effects in the book, the way they used to be. One was, I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore, or
Yeah.
whatever the change is. I can't remember it now because
Mhm.
I remember so many of them both ways, but that one, and then there was the Lion and the Lamb. She said she remembered being in church and seeing the painting of that up on the wall, and I was like, oh, it's not in the Bible anymore, you know?
Yeah. Oh wow.
Yeah,
I'm still confused about this timeline stuff. It's just, oh, I want to know.
I know.
I want to know what's going on.
Yeah, totally.
All right, I'm not going to take up any more of your time. I know there's other people who'd like to get in.
No problem. I appreciate you letting us know what's going on
Oh,
with you. Lots of
yes, I'm
love
so
to you,
glad to have
Nancy.
been here. Lots of love to you, Shane. Lots of love to everyone. I'm coming back on the chat.
Alrighty. All right. See you in the chat.
Okay,
Bye
talk
bye.
soon. Bye-bye.
Okay. Nancy, not so fancy Nancy from Montreal. She will be back in the chat momentarily. I did have. Let me mute this because. Is this the right one? I'm going to try to call this one up. I think this one is going to be a fun call. I can already tell. Oh, let me pull this down. Oh, I got a voicemail. That's exactly why I muted it, just in case. It's like I don't want to give out someone's number, the phone number, and then starts saying the number, and like, oops, sorry, I didn't mean to give your number out live on the air. So, let me see if I got any other ones here. Let me check back to I'm checking Facebook really fast here. Aw. Let me try one more time, because this caller, I'm not sure who it was. I didn't leave their name, but they sent me a text, and I was excited to hear from them too, because they had a QHHT experience. Let me try the call one more time here. They did hit me up right after Nancy, so it's been a while, so there's no telling what they might have got into. But I always love hearing the hypnosis stories. They're just so fascinating to me. Oh. Okay. Well. All right. So you can try calling directly if you'd like, but it might not go through. You can hit me up on Facebook Messenger if you'd like to talk. If you do go straight through to voicemail, though, you can send me a text to 781-474-2632. Oh, let me check my email in case somebody sent me an email, like Susan. No, you can email me your phone number, too. I won't give out your number on the air, so no worries there. But I was just, while I was talking to Nancy, I pulled up the Schumann resonance, and it's actually looking like it's quieted down now for... Oh, actually, nope, we're just starting to... Since I last looked, it's... we're getting a blast here, looks like. Thought it had died down. But we're definitely getting these pulses. I don't know what it's all about, but I can feel them. Definitely can feel them. And what's up with the Sunspot, New Mexico? Did you guys hear about the Sun Observatory getting shut down? What is that all about? For those that's subscribed to Destroying the Illusion, Jordan Sather did a video about it, which I thought he nicely covered all of the different probabilities that could be going on with that. So if you've been wondering the same thing, you could definitely look into that. I know Shiny Roberts had sent me a message on Facebook about it. But yeah, closing down the observatory. And then somebody pointed out there was like, 6 webcams, or streaming webcams that were looking at the sun, and they were shut down. And then I got on the Soho website to check out, because you can see live data of the sun, looking through the telescopes at the sun or whatever, and those say they're down temporarily. It's like, what is going on with our sun that they're trying to hide? Now, I observed the sun myself today. I went out with the solar filter on, and I didn't see anything strange with it at all. So it could be something close to the sun, because those telescopes that actually block out the sun so that you can see stuff right around them, I'm not able to do that here on the ground, because no matter how much you block out the sun around it, you're going to get the atmosphere lighting up so much that you can't really see anything. And I'm not sure how those observatories work. So I'm not sure what's really going on with that, but definitely something could be going on. Really, really strange. Let me see. Okay, well, I guess we can call it a show with this one here. What are we at? Hour and 33 minutes. Definitely want to join tomorrow night with Eileen Colts. From one channel. We're going to do the Power of 8 at 8, but we're going to have our special guest on tomorrow night, and I don't have their names in front of me, so I apologize. But when she went to her trip to Colorado Springs to see David Wilcock, way to use the telescope. Yeah, I didn't see anything funny going on. Oh, yeah, if you got the recording, send me a text and I will call you back, Lorraine. So yeah, I've been watching the sun. I don't see anything going on as far as any UFOs or anything like that, but really strange. So yeah, if Lorraine wants to send me, I can stick around a little bit longer. Yeah, but Eileen took her trip to see David Wilcock in Colorado Springs, and while she was there, she went and she picked up this really cool artwork with all the geometric shapes and stuff built into it. It's really cool. Let me see here. Ta, 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 ta. Oh, T. Taylor. Let me see here. Let me try to call you back here. Coast to Coast Show says an FBI buddy told him they've been training high school. Can't say that. Can't say that. A bunch of crap. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. If anybody wants to know what I'm saying, you can look in the chat. Let me see if I can get a hold of T. Taylor here. Yeah, I had the issues fixed with the phone ringing. I'd found a way around it, so I thought, but it's not working still, so maybe that's just a hint that I need to go with that service Michelle's Opinions has been showing me about. What is up, T. Taylor? Is that you?
That's me. Hi,
Hey.
Everybody. Oh, it's been a crazy couple of weeks, huh? My goodness.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Oh,
and
boy.
the energies, and it's been a wild ride.
It has been a wild ride. Go ahead.
Never boring anyway these days, is it?
No, it sure isn't. It's like you wake up every day and you're like, I'm just like ready to go on the roller coaster ride. You never quite know which way it's going to go.
Yeah.
Like, all right, I'm trying to flow, trying to surf above it. You know, that's kind of what I tell people. I know a lot of people in the chat were talking about electronics issues. I want to touch on that real quick. I just said something about that on one of my videos today. Lots of people are experiencing that. Slowdowns, internet interruptions, buffering, phone issues, computer issues, lots of stuff. In fact, Dabu, I think 777, just did a short video yesterday saying a lot of Comcast customers were having complete interruptions in service, nowhere near the storm. So just be aware of that, everybody. It's not just you.
Yeah, it's been spotty. Actually, it's actually seemed to get better here in the last, I don't know, couple of days.
Oh, mine's gone the other way, but I'm happy for you.
Yeah, it was real bad for a few weeks, it seemed like. And, well, I noticed that when I had Michelle on Tuesday that finally we had a decent show where her internet wasn't so spotty, you know. But
oh yeah, I watched her show last night, and it was a tiny bit spotty last night. I noticed too. Her energy is so high, though. It's like, you know, when you get some of us together that have super high energy, I know, and I've affected other people's internet too sometimes. Like, sorry guys, I didn't mean to.
yeah,
I swear it wasn't my fault.
Yeah, my friend Diane in Texas was talks about knocking out credit card machines and stuff. Well, she got struck by lightning when she was younger and retained some of
Powder.
her. Yeah.
I just mentioned Powder in the chat earlier. That's crazy. She's got some electronics, like, oh, wow.
Yeah,
she's like super high energy.
Yeah, she's like a superhero.
That's fantastic. Oh, well, not fantastic. She got struck by lightning. Don't take that the wrong way, anybody.
Oh, well, she's gifted, so if that's how it came, I'm sure she doesn't mind.
She doesn't mind now, right? Yeah,
Right.
Sometimes you got to take it the way it shows up. I know.
Right.
I know a lot of people have been talking about the my puzzle piece is obviously the physical aspect, and so I've been seeing in the chats. I've been checking in chats with you and like Michelle's and Michelle's opinions and a lot of other places lately, and it seems like a lot of people are just becoming aware of that crystalline DNA activation process. You could call it light body integration, ascension, lots of different names for it. So just everybody keep discussing it is what I would say. We need that to get to a very open forum so that when the collective gets there, for those that will get there in the collective, that it's on the, you know, it's more mainstream than it has been. So I would just say everybody keep posting your videos and keep discussing it. It's really important.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people are experiencing it, but nobody wants to really come out and say it because nobody wants to be the only one. But as soon as they see other
Right.
people
I
talking
went
about
through
it, they're
that.
like, oh, some other people
Mm-hmm.
that's strange like me. Yeah, we're all strange
Right. Yeah.
here. You're in the right crowd.
Fly your freak flag.
Right.
Don't be afraid. Yeah, I know. When I came forward, 2 years ago, I remember, I knew a couple people that would write me privately and say, "Hey, I'm having the same thing," and they would send me pictures or some vids. But they're like, I can't talk about this openly because I don't want to be labeled as crazy by the people that I love. And of course, I just have a big mouth, so it never really, my people are already like, well, we know her already. She is a little weird. But, I would just say now that, so like you were saying, so many people are discussing it. Yeah, it's really great just to be able to have those open conversations and let people know that, it is something that is biologically happening and you're not crazy. And it does have a lot of accompanying physical symptoms that go along with that. So don't be afraid to look up information or talk to other people about it. You're not the only one. Most people don't even realize it's happening to them until somebody else points it out. And then they go, oh, what is that? And then they freak out because they're like, well, now it's happening to me. Oh, crap.
Right.
now it's real. Things just went real quick. Oh, man.
Yeah, I think a lot of things are like that. People go to their doctor like, I need to set an appointment up with my doctor because this is weird, but it's like ascension symptoms, and they don't realize it's just part of it. Oh, she's laughing about your freak flag comment, Michelle's opinions.
Yeah, fly your freak flag, everybody. And yeah, and if you go to your doctor, I know I have a video on my channel, and it's by Dr. Georgie Stankoff, and it's a 2-part video. I divided it into 2 parts, and he talks about, if you need to go to your doctor, go to your doctor. I'm not going to ever say, he says don't go to your doctor. I'm not going to say that. There are times when 3D medicine is appropriate, so I'm not going to be egocentric and say that that's not what you need. What I would say, however, though, is if you go for some of these ascension symptoms, do not be surprised if your doctor cannot help you or you get the psychiatric referral. I'm just, just be cognizant that is a possibility because, they didn't train for this. They've never seen this before. I want to say it was the Fifth World I was just talking to today, and she was quoting the Huffington Post, I think it was. And she was saying, that there is one of the universities, they were very clear that they've never seen anything like this. They're calling it a mutation. A dormant DNA mutation is what they're calling it. So, they're just as taken off guard as we are. And they don't really know what to do with this because I don't think they know which way this is going to go yet. It's so new and it's beyond anything that we've seen before. Those of us going through it know that because it's got all these weird, like, when you can change your pupil shapes into multiple other shapes rapidly on command, like I've shown that I can do in a video, your doctor really doesn't know what to do with that. He looks at you like you've grown a third head, and it freaks him out a little bit. So.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think a lot of people either get, there's nothing wrong with you. I don't see anything wrong with you. Or if you start bringing up stuff like the Mandela effect or some of the things we talk about, then it's psych meds. So, probably shouldn't bring
then you're getting the eye roll.
Right. Don't mention it. The heart used to be on the left or anything like that because it was like, no, I remember in school learning it was in the center. And definitely.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I would just say at this point, I get videos and comments and emails and messages from people around the world. We're talking completely every country you can name. I've probably received information from people at this point. I'm sure you have too. And it's like, they're all talking about the same thing. It's all races, all cultures, all belief systems. It's not, but the one thing that everybody who has this process happening has in common is that they are the most loving, compassionate human beings I've ever met.
Yeah.
And that they're a little bit more open-minded. They're not so plugged into one narrowed focus on what is possible, I guess I would say. So, and that's really what spurs this process forward is just love. So, I mean, I know it's hard some days, but just be as compassionate as you can, everyone.
Oh, definitely. That's why I always say, don't let the secret shoppers trigger you, because that's who the asleep people are, like the secret shoppers of our reality. They're there just to see if they can trigger you. So don't let them, love them through whatever they're doing to you. You know what I mean?
Right. And realize it's that there's, I think it was Michelle's opinion said this earlier in the chat. She was right on the money. When we do get triggered, we need to understand why we were triggered. We do need to reflect on that for a minute. I heard it, I think it was in somebody's live chat. I think it was during quantum discussions. I'm not sure exactly what channel it is. I'm really sorry. I'll try and link it later. But they were talking about, she came up with this, it's FOAL, FOAL, which is feel, observe, accept, and then love, which is actually unconditional love, but, love. And I loved that. I thought that was one of the most fantastic things I'd heard in a while, because it's really true. I mean, we do have to feel why we get triggered, but at the same time, once you get to that point, you can take a step back, really, and not go to the intensity that you used to go. Now, I will preface that and say, if we do go, like if we trip, it is like a little bit falling into quicksand. I know that if I get upset, it's instead of being 0 to 10, it's like 0 to 50 now. It's really easy to get to that place where it's at such a heightened, place compared to what it used to be. I mean, I've caught myself throwing things, and I'm not a thrower, but when you do let yourself go there, you have to be very careful, because as much as we have a lot of light, we also have a lot of dark. So the key is to find the balance between the two, and some days that's not easy all the time. But if you can take a step back and observe and understand why you're having that reaction, it makes it a lot easier to kind of get over it and go, oh, okay, well, it's not really that big of a deal, but you still have to feel through it. So it can't be love and light all the time. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's always the other side of the coin, isn't there?
There always is, yeah. And as you go through, it just gets easier and easier to kind of be able to see somebody else's argument or why somebody else is acting the way that they're acting. Like you said, a lot of these people just they're ignorant. They just don't have the information yet. And people want to stay in their illusion. They don't want their illusion broke. So if you're going to come along and do something like shine right in their face because you're in the sun and there's nothing you can do about it, some people automatically be triggered by that. I know that used to happen to me a lot in the beginning. It's like I literally would just walk in somewhere and people would look at me and I'd have two reactions. Some people would gravitate and other people would literally flee. And it's like, oh, okay, what's going on? But you just have to, recognize everybody's at their own place in this process, and no choice is wrong. We just have to support everybody. Yeah. Like you said, love them through it.
Totally.
That's all you can do.
So how have you been doing as far as, you've been real busy with your channel and life and Ormus and all that stuff, right?
Yes, that's true. It's been kind of crazy. I think, like everybody else, and as these energies intensify, I'm also a single mom of 2 teenage boys, so it's a lot. And then, there's any blocks that we had. Well, I don't even like the word blocks necessarily, but I would say any issues that we haven't completely confronted, let me put it that way, are really coming to the surface right now. It's like trying to keep a ball under the water, and so it's going to pop right up in your face, anything that you really haven't kind of dealt with. And I thought I had dealt with all my crap, but of course there's always something that you kind of put up on a shelf that you thought, well, I dealt with it, but then you really didn't, you know what I mean? So I, like everybody else, am going through those kind of reluctant blocks releasing, and that's uncomfortable in certain ways.
Totally.
But yeah, I'm still selling my Ormus, and that seems to be going really well, and that's the one thing I would say keeping my channel going at the moment. If it wasn't for my Ormus sales, we wouldn't be keeping my channel going. So thank you, everybody who's bought Ormus. That's been incredibly helpful for us. And plus, it also helps people's physical bodies. I don't think it's something, like I say, should be depended on in any way, shape, or form. But for those people just entering that purging and detoxing process in the beginning of this, it's incredibly helpful for your physical body, and it just helps you rebalance, is what I would say. But yeah, it's been hectic, I would say. I mean, there's definitely moments where, you look around and you're like, why am I doing this? And should I be doing this? And then you get torn between, especially I know a lot of us can relate to this, is kind of having one foot in both worlds. One foot in this awakening process and knowing the things that we need to do that feed our soul, that we are passionate about, that help us get to that higher frequency. But then we also have to be realistic and pay our bills. So there's this kind of, and if you've got teenagers or kids, you got to do what you got to do. So there's a lot of push and pull, I would say, right now that I'm seeing amongst our people, you could say, in a certain way, and it's just hitting everybody. And so, just hang in there, everybody. I would say. I released a short little music video the other day. I do that from time to time, and it's just called, Everything's going to be all right, because then it shows a bunch of people having bad days, but in the end, if we just hold on together, we can get through that.
Oh
And that's
yeah, I
kind of how I
appreciate you
feel
sending
about
me that link. It made me laugh. So.
I'm glad. And that's the intention is, as much as we all like may fall down with our face in the mud sometimes, just get up and laugh. It's all you can do. And then I tell everybody right now that the best thing that you can do is make those connections. Like, that's why your channel is so important, and others like yours, because you are facilitating people getting together and having discussions and making connections with others. And that is what is so important right now, because we all have those moments, especially right now. And so when we have other people that we form this network with that we can reach out to during those moments, sometimes it just takes a kind word. Sometimes you just need to vent to somebody and say, this is what's happening right now. And you think it might be the end of the world, but when you talk to somebody else and they just say something nice to you, you're like, okay, it's not that bad.
Yeah, or when you hear it through other people. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Or they show you something that makes you laugh. You're like, okay, it could be worse. It's just, so that's why your channel and others like it is so important. And I appreciate it, and I'm sure everybody else does too.
And I appreciate that, and I appreciate your channel. So it's like we're all our little worker bee selves doing our part of the job here,
It's like what I tell everybody too. It's like, we're all pieces of this puzzle, and none of us, in order to complete this puzzle, there isn't just one piece. There isn't. There's, some pieces connect to 5 or 6 other pieces. Some people connect to 1 or 2 other pieces, but we all need to connect, and we all have a special part of us that gives a bigger outlook to this. I saw a really interesting Netflix series that I kind of did want to bring up, because I've had a lot of people reach out to me in some really that dark night of the soul place lately, and so I'm sure that you've probably seen some of that too.
Oh yeah.
And so there's this series called Kiss Me First, and it's on Netflix. And I don't know if anybody else has seen that, but I just watched that the other day, and I was somewhat fascinated. And so I'll give the premise real quick. Basically, it's this game has been released publicly around the globe, or world, and it's a virtual reality world called Alonza. But what happens in that virtual reality world is that somebody kind of goes behind the scenes, kind of like Tron Legacy, and starts to manipulate people into doing things. And I feel like that's a little bit, you kind of discussed this with the SAM and the AI thing, and I think people do need to be very cognizant that there is something behind the scenes that has been behind the scenes for a very long time. And you have to be very careful which rabbit holes you go down and for how long you go down them, and if that's associated with technology. And just be aware that that can be manipulated. So just because a thought comes into your mind does not mean that that thought is necessarily yours, first of all, or that you should run with that thought, grab it and run with it, I would say. I would just see, it's an interesting series. I think a lot of people should check it out just to have it in the background. But just know that, technology necessarily is not always our friend, and it can be manipulated quite easily. So just, keep it in the background.
Oh, and when you think about like telepathy and you imagine spirit beings using telepathy, then you can see that when you get a thought in your mind, you don't know that it wasn't, you're hearing something telepathically, and it didn't originate in your brain. So we have to really, that's why I think it's important to trust our heart and our intuition, because, a lot of times you'll have a thought and you'll have a negative feeling that accompanies it. And I think that's an indicator that it wasn't your thought to begin with, and that's your sort of your intuition saying, whoa, putting the brakes on for you, saying that's not you, don't act on that or whatever.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what I meant earlier that's when you fall into that quicksand. Because if you grab those thoughts against what your heart is telling you to do, and even though it doesn't feel right, but then you start to feed into that narrative and you tell yourself that, bad things, and you feed right back into that kind of brainwashing thing. And we all do it from time to time. Like, everybody kind of falls into that on occasion. But it's so easy to just get into that place that's like quicksand. And so that's why it's so important to have the support system set up in place. So you can just reach out to somebody during those moments and say, hey, this is what's going on. And then somebody can say, well, that's, and just lift you up again. Because there is definitely, like you said, there is, as we become more aware of the telepathy thing. And here is something interesting as you bring up telepathy. It's like my higher self likes to point things out in media for me, because that's just, like I said, I have kids running around, so it's like I can't completely get rid of my cable because they're teenagers and they would probably revolt completely. Right. And I'm not ready for that. But I was rewatching the X-Files. I have a lot of stuff that just comes on by itself sometimes. And the X-Files show came on the other day, which I think is interesting. And it happened to be season 5, episode 20. And what it was about was a little boy who was telepathic, but
I literally dropped my food when I was walking into my room, and I heard this last night. But they said he had activated his dormant junk DNA. And I was like, what? But then they tie it into this really weird place, but it's all about being able to be telepathic and how when they really got down to it and did a bunch of tests, because Mulder kept saying that he was alien, that he had been introduced to an alien virus, and Scully said no when she did the test. We all have this within us. It can't be alien because we all have it. And I just was like, they're talking, I mean, this was in the 90s. So this stuff has been around. You know what I mean? People have talked about this for a lot longer than what I think a lot of people really realize. It's kind of been in our face for a while.
Yeah.
As more and more people, right?
Yeah.
And Star Trek had that Transfigurations episode, like, way back in the 80s or
I
something.
know.
Oh, my goodness.
It's like, oh my gosh, this whole time this has been right there. And then, like, once your eyes are open to it, you're like, oh my gosh, it's been here all along. You know, it's like all this information. It's just
right, exactly.
That's
and Michelle's opinion, she said, I'm sorry, she said Scully's the one who ended up having the alien DNA. Yeah, she had been given the virus as well. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Oh,
Go
yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, she had commented on something you said earlier, too, like we're all mutants or something. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, we all share a lot of different, I know we were talking on Michelle Wolf, her stream last night, but we all have, because somebody said, well, I think I'm Arcturian, and somebody else said, I think I'm Pleiadian, and when I see my psychic chick like once a year, and I had asked her about that once, and she said, you've been several different ones. She said, just like you've lived several lives on Earth, you have also lived several lives on other planets. So you've been Arcturian, you've been Pleiadian, you've been, possibly Andromedan. You've had all these different things, and that's why, now that you're here, this is why we call Earth the living library, because when we activate those strands of DNA, some of us have over 48 strands of DNA. That comes from those other seeded races. Yeah. So that's when the veils completely come down. I think it's going to be very interesting to see what everybody actually looks like. And I was told by my guides, you could say, or higher self a long time ago, it's why it's so important to love all the parts of yourself. Mm-hmm. Because when we can finally see those other parts, I think you and I were talking when you had me on your show, and you were saying when we did that candle thing and you could see those other, when you were kind of doing the morphing thing, and it was very interesting, and you could see those other aspects, right? Oh, yeah. That's why it's so important we start to love those other aspects, because otherwise we're going to freak out. We're going to have a hard time with that.
Totally. It's like the Earth is the New York of the galaxy or something. It's the melting pot.
I just said that today. Exactly.
Oh, really?
I did. I just said that to the Fifth World this morning. Those exact words. I said it's exactly what it's like. Because, New York, everybody came in, right?
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah, and then, it seems like we've had an uptick in, the last few decades where everybody's wanting to get in to be a part of this change coming in, and, like, even to the point where people are like, hey, can I just go in as, like, someone's puppy or a pet or something? I just want to be there for this to change. So I always say, have a positive outlook about what's happening right now. Be excited about it. You don't want to look back and say, oh, man, I could have enjoyed it while it was happening, but instead I just couldn't wait for it to be over. I'd say and that keeps your vibes high too, and it helps the process along if you can sort of get excited about what's happening and just get into it, you know what I mean? So
it's exactly true. And then I would say for as far as the physical aspect, exactly what you're saying makes it 1,000 times easier. It's when we fall into resistance that the physical symptoms become overwhelming at times. When we can just trust the process. And like you said, I was told very early on, you need to make a choice. You have to pick fear or you have to pick love. And I didn't quite understand what they meant at that point. And now I get it. Because when I looked at what was happening to me, the physical process like a disease, or like it was fearful, like I was afraid of it, that's when it was horrific for me. When I just changed and said, I'm just going to trust, like the swan trusted, God, I'm just going to trust that this is going to end up better for me. I'm not going to be the ugly duckling in the end, hopefully. I'm going to work it out. It's always worked out before. And I just have to trust the process. And no matter what the process is, I'm going to go down in love. That's what I choose. Whatever happens, I'm going to be as loving and compassionate as I can till the very, very last second. That's just who I am. That's how I'm gonna go out. And that's when things changed for me. But, like I said, it's hard to stay in that all the time, especially with these these waves coming in such intensity, and also so many of us are empathic. So not only are we clearing our crap, we're picking up on everybody's crap around us and the collective's crap. So sometimes just remember that might not, you said earlier, that telepathy thing, we're all becoming connected So sometimes those aren't your thoughts, and you do the best you can to clear them, and don't necessarily assign them to you. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. That's great advice. And I think once you realize that you are the sole person in control of your emotions and how you feel and everything, that's why I always refer back to that I am discourse, because it's like once I realize that if I'm having a bad day, I can really control whether, which way I steer that, and no one else can do it for me. So that's really, and I think about really bad days, like when my dad died. It wasn't a bad day for me because of my outlook for that day. I was glad his suffering was over, and where someone else might have went through that and it would have been the worst day of their life or whatever. So we are really in control of how we take everything, how we see everything, our perspective that we choose to view things from, and it's all within our control. And once you realize that you are in complete control of you, no matter what any kind of external forces that affects you, you can still handle that the way you want to handle it. Even if it's the most horrible day for someone else, it could be the best day for you.
It's a beautiful statement. I completely agree with you. And I would even add to that. And that's how you can take the power away from some of those energy vampires or some of those people in your life that have we have all had them. We all have, a lot of us, especially being empathic, had a lot of relationships with narcissists. Mm-hmm. We kind of would surround ourselves with them, looking back on things. A lot of us have removed a lot of those people from our lives, but some of us still have them around because they're family or, whatever the situation is. But when you, like you said, when you choose to look at it differently, and I really relate to what you said with looking at it as he wasn't suffering anymore. And you realize, too, that death is just a transition. It's not the end. We never die. We are energy. We continue on. It's just a transition. But when you take somebody that's just being mean, for instance, and you don't give them the power to affect you that way anymore. When you, like you said, you take the perspective and you control it, it changes the whole game up. But it's a process. We've been taught the other way. We've been taught to feed into that. We've been taught to give our energy away. And so it's a process of reprogramming ourselves to take our own power back and not feeding into things like that. It's much easier if somebody's trolling you just to block them, than to feed into it and try and have the dialogue and try and defend your argument and getting that energy just sideways. There's just no need for it. Just boom, to be done.
Totally.
And then people just don't. I remember I was doing a live stream. I think, we were on Lights of the Round Table once. And we got, I call it snipe. It's when you have a bunch of people come in that are trying to affect your channel and get strikes. And so we had somebody come in, and their actual image was of a very large man, but naked, completely naked. So when I was looking on my screen, it was so right in front of my face, and then they started saying some very, key words that would get any channel a copy strike. Let me just put it that way. Mm-hmm. But what we did is we just laughed. We just laughed it off, and we kept talking. And, of course, they're like, we'll let T. Taylor take it because I have the biggest mouth, of course. So I just was able to amble on through it, even though I was trying not to crack up. And they left because they couldn't feed off our energy. But it's still one of the funniest things looking back. As soon as they left, we all cracked up so hard. But, it's like they couldn't get the response they were looking for. And the channel didn't get a strike, and everything was fine. But it was just one of those great examples of if you don't feed into it, they're like a 2-year-old, and it doesn't really matter who they are. They'll leave because they just can't they'll have to go look for that energy source somewhere else. Yeah.
Totally, yeah. We had, I think it was a bot or someone that somehow was able to go in and post all of this stuff with all these horrible names into the chat. And, it was so funny to see Jose was trying to keep up with it. And, it wasn't bothering her, but she was just kind of freaking out about it. And she's sending me these messages, and I already saw it happening because of the delay and everything. And so we ended up just cracking up and laughing about it. We were like, wow, what the heck was that? That was intense, huh? And it was, and then I learned to turn on slow chat. That's why slow mode is on, because they came in and it was just scrolling so fast. And we were like, what the heck's going on?
You do that.
Yeah.
Right. We call it sniping, yeah, because we got hit by three people at the same time. We had one with the image, and then he was saying one thing, and then we got hit in the chat with 2 other people, and then somebody else came in. Yeah, like you said, just so fast. It was just boom, and maybe they're bots or whatnot. But like you said, if you just laugh and like you said, make it slow so that you can have your moderators take out stuff. They lose interest pretty quick. They only really hang around when they're engaged. So it's like, well, you're not going to get that here. We're all too high for that on a higher frequency, not high like high. Don't take that
Some
the
of
wrong
us
way,
are.
everybody. All right.
I mean, I'm not.
Yeah, some might be, but I'm
hollering out
not.
420 earlier. Yeah, I used to back in the day, but not anymore. I just get high
Yeah.
in 5D or whatever, New Earth or
It's
whatever.
funny. I mean, somebody else were just saying in the chat earlier too. Like once you have this process happen too, it's like things that you used to turn to for coping mechanisms. Like I can't even drink coffee anymore. I think you and I discussed that. It's like so a joke at this point, you know. And it's like you don't need things the same way that you used to. Like a lot of people get off pharmaceutical meds because their body just doesn't need it anymore. And if you keep trying to take stuff, your body actually will get sick. Like if I try and put anything in my body that's not really for my best and highest good at this point, my body will just reject it. It will just be like, we're going to make you sick, so you really don't ever want to do that again. And I'll be like, okay, I don't want to do that again. Thank you. Made that real easy.
Oh, totally. Yeah, it's been that way a few times for me where I felt almost jittery, and I'm like, I haven't even had caffeine, you know. I can't imagine adding caffeine to the top of that. But, you know, with marijuana, that got me through so many hard times in my past, but I just don't need it anymore. But, you know, it was an important coping mechanism back then, you know, and I don't think I'd be here today if it wasn't for that, because it was just, sometimes it was just,
me too.
I needed the break,
totally agree.
You know, it's like a little vacation.
Right, I totally agree with you. And like when I do say that, I don't want anybody to freak out, because your body will just do it naturally. It will be a very natural and organic process for you. It's not going to be something that's going to be abrupt and like, oh, I got to stop all this stuff. It won't be like that. It will be just something that happens it's just like we're changing our eating habits, and we're changing our exercise habits, and we're changing everything. You know, it's just, that's one of the parts that we change, and it will just be a very natural, organic process for you. It's not something that's going to be startling or upsetting. It's just at some point your body will say, I don't want it, and you just won't want it, and you'll be fine with it.
Yeah, for me, I was on the ADHD medicine. So for me, I have toned it down a little bit. I I have caffeine still, but I still have come way down off of it, because those are stimulants too. So add that with the caffeine, and you're really zinging, you know. So
you're zipping.
Yeah, so hopefully I can get off the caffeine at some point, but I'm not quite there yet.
I still have a little bit. Yeah, it's okay. I still have a little too. But I know when I have too much, because like you said, it's like I get to that jittery, over the top feeling. And like when I do, like when I connect with people like tonight, like I instantly am almost a little, cracked out from just connecting with other people and having that connection of energy. It just instantly, it raises you up. And so it's like, especially if I'm connecting with other people, I just don't need it. Yeah, I don't need that stuff.
Right. And I think everybody's sort of on their own journey with that. I'd say not to worry about, if you're not there yet, don't worry about it. We're just sort of sharing our experience. It might be 2 years down the road or something for you, so.
Absolutely. And when it is, like I said, it'll be very natural. It won't be startling or upsetting to you in any way. It'll just be your process. Everybody's going to, exactly like you said, do it in their time and their way. Definitely. So, but I did I wanted to touch base and tell everybody, just hang in there. I don't want to tie you up all night. I'm sure a lot of other people probably want to talk to you too. But I did want to say, hey, everybody. And I know a lot of people are experiencing these very physical symptoms, especially with all of this purging that the planet is doing as well, with the hurricanes and the volcanic activity. We all have to realize that just as we are ascending, so is the planet, or you could say it already has technically, and we're just kind of awakening to that. But it has to purge all that old energy too. So just, that's why some of these storms are happening. I'm not saying all of them. There's, some theories there, but some of them. And so we have to just allow the planet to do what it needs to do to raise its frequency as well, and just try and support it the best way that we can. So,
totally.
Just remember that, everyone. So, but hang in there with the physical stuff.
Totally. Well, thanks for calling in. I appreciate you.
No problem.
Have a good one.
Yeah, it was great to talk to you guys. All right, bye.
Bye-bye. Okay. T. Taylor. Make sure you check out her channel. You can either look up T. Taylor, or you can, when she's back in the chat, you can click the 3 little dots next to her name, and it'll say go to channel. And so you can check out some of the videos she was talking about. You can check out the Ormus that she sells. All of that good stuff. Let me see here. Yeah, I don't do coffee anymore. I actually do caffeine pills because it's much easier to control the dosage. I can be more, because like when my wife makes coffee, she just sort of haphazardly tosses the grains in there, and it's like, sometimes I'm jittery, sometimes I didn't have enough. And then there's the whole thing with the sugar crash, because I like lots of sugar and cream in my coffee. I like to turn it into chocolate hot chocolate as much as I can. And you get that extra sugar crash from it like an hour later. So sometimes I'll, when I was drinking coffee anyway, I'd get the sugar crash, but yet I'd have the zing of the, the caffeine going. So it's just much easier for me to kind of control how much I'm taking and how regular I do it if I just take the caffeine pill instead. And I reduce my sugar quite a bit too. So that's just where I am with that. I do love the taste of coffee, but the sugar's not good. So. And Kiss Me First. Sorry for the noise. I tried to open Netflix to look it up so I didn't forget the name of it. And it played a little bit of the Netflix sounds coming through there. But yeah, I see it's a 2018 series that started up, so I'll definitely need to check that out. Well, lots of love and light to everyone in the chat. Let me look and make sure I'm not missing out on anybody. I will definitely be back tomorrow. We got a great show lined up. A special Power of 8 at 8 tomorrow with Eileen at 8 p.m. Eastern or 1 a.m. Sunday morning if you are GMT time, or you can adjust it that way. I do appreciate everybody joining in here, and thank you so much for being a part of the chat, and we'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one. If you'd like to support the work I do, go to paypal.me/UOTF. Thanks.